Marybeth Welty is an award-winning holistic home and office design expert, speaker, author, and coach. She mentors feminine coaches, speakers, course creators, and entrepreneurs who are tired of feeling stressed, chaotic, and disorganized in their business and life. She will help you create a calm home sanctuary and an inspiring, efficient, and profit-generating home office so you can reduce your distractions, think more clearly, produce top-quality work, and attract high-paying clients that need the gifts you bring to the world. And today, though, we get Marybeth's wisdom on our creativity and our focus. And for writers, she's tailored something just for us. I'm so happy and blessed to have you here, Marybeth. Take it away. I'm going to spotlight you on the screen.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you all. I'm going to share my screen because I do have some slides for you. This is, as Rusty said, the 3 keys to optimize your home office. And it's all about helping you maximize your creativity while being more productive and being able to achieve whatever the writing goals that you have are for 2024. And I'm just going to pull up my chat here so I can see everybody and configure my window. Okay, perfect. So I have a question for you all. This is the first time I'm here with you and the first time I'm meeting many of you. So why did you or do you want to be a writer? If you want to come off mute, please feel free if you want to type it in the chat. But I'd love to know, what is it about writing that has drawn you? Why do you want to be a writer? Why did you start writing?
Holly, go ahead.
For me, it was a deep wound that I had had about being kind of directed into a profession that was not even on my radar. And then diving deep into that profession, while it was a good one for me, it wasn't my heart. My heart wasn't in it, and it had really no value, no meaning, and I didn't feel like putting a bunch of clothes on racks was my whole life, though I was spending my whole life doing it. So it became a real wound for me, and I wanted others to not fall in that trap and see how important it is to follow your dreams.
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing. Tara, I see you're saying in the chat you wanted to express yourself.
Barbara, go ahead.
I feel like I need to write. I can't not write. It's just part of who I've been since I was a little girl and couldn't wait to come home from school and write in my journal. So it's just part of who I am for me.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Virginia.
And Virginia? Sorry, Steve.
I started writing when I was young, like Barbara, and a lot of it was about self-care, like I see Anahita is saying. And it was just eventually I started to get to know myself through writing, and I just never stopped doing that for a long, long, long time, years and years. And now I don't journal like I used to. And it took me a long time to figure out why that had happened. And I realized that it's more about I need to write to connect, not with myself, but with other people now. So that's the reason I want to be a writer. I mean, a writer, like a published writer. I've been a writer all my life.
Schreider. Thank you. Thank you. And Rusty?
I believe that we all have a story to tell and wisdom to share, whether that's in a how-to, whether that's in our memoir, or whether that's to entertain. And I believe that there's wisdom in the entertaining fiction. This is why I find a lot of my quotes for these events in fiction as well. But for me, my personal reason why I wanted to be a writer is that my pain to paradise has been a long journey. The 3 ways to gain wisdom. The longest column, if I was to put them in columns, the longest column is by experience, the bitterest. And I want to offer my story so that somebody can be spared some of those bitter experiences by imitation. I'd like to make their path easier. That's my reason.
Mm. Almost like a gift of service. Mm. Teresa?
I started writing again after my husband passed, and it started with journaling. I used to tell stories as a child, and my mom said they were pretty wild, but they weren't approved of. And when I was married, I wrote a book actually when my children were quite small, and he hated it. He hated that I had something on the go that he didn't have control of. And so it became a real bone of contention. So I quit writing. I was probably widowed about 2 years before I picked up a pen just to track my thoughts and feelings to try and figure out where I was and who I was after the loss. And then I started writing in the journal just thoughts that would randomly come. And wasn't until I ran into a friend who does these beautiful wood paintings that she asked me to come and see them. And I was standing and talking to her, and she was lifting each one off, and they were hanging it in a gallery for display. And the bottom one, she lifted the second from the bottom off, and the bottom one started to talk. And I had a story from that piece of wood. And I stood there for 20 minutes regaling that story. And then they hung it up in the gallery, and the story stopped. So I never thought anything more of it. And about a month later, all of a sudden that story took up. So I phoned her and I said, "Where is that piece of wood?" And she said, "Well, I just took it down from the gallery. It's in the back of my truck." And I said, "Well, the story started again." So she said, "I'm bringing it over. You need this to finish that story." And that happens to be the story of Father Sky that I work on. I still have that piece of wood. It's still in my home. Some days it talks, some days it doesn't. But I work on Father Sky when it talks. So that's why I started writing.
Thank you. That's beautiful. I love that. And Dorothy, I see you're saying in the chat, I've always written, and now you're retired and have been caregiving for your daughter and traveling through her stage 4 cancer journey. And you're working on recapturing your life. I guess I'd write anyway. Now I'm moving more into sharing it. I love that. So are any of you writing for income to be able to, Rusty, yeah, Brenda, Holly, yeah, wonderful, great, thank you all. Brenda, did you want to say something?
Oh, I write meditations for my meditation classes. So that's how I started really into the writing journey, other than I've been writing my whole life as a resource teacher, writing program plans, but that was different. But journaling my whole life as well. But I do write for, I guess I don't get paid for what I write, but I get paid because I write. How's that?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely get it. I love that. Cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. Teresa, you're saying not yet, but hope to in the future. Cool. Hi, Macy. We're just talking. I asked the question of why do you or did you want to be a writer?
I was in the 4th grade and I lived in a very sad household, and I always stayed in libraries with my dad, but I read James and the Giant Peach about a really lonely kid who lived inside a peach, and that is the first play I adapted. And just writing, it didn't cost me anything, and I could always tell the truth on paper. And until the last 3 years in America, nobody could really criticize me.
I loved James and the Giant Peach when I was growing up. So
Me too.
yeah, I can totally relate to you. And do you write for income?
I don't feel I do at this moment, though I often write legal things for myself that result in influxes of lump sums of money if I say what happened and how people wronged me. So being
Mhm.
a creative writer can help also with setting the record straight for abusers, and that makes me income.
Mm,
But
mm,
I don't write for a magazine. I have written for magazines in the past, but
mhm,
in the last 7 years, I don't write for a magazine. I've just written 2 plays, and now I'm working on my third play with Rusty LaHaye called Cocktails, which
mhm.
is which I feel is a type of Fleabag, which was about kind of sex encounters, and I would love to see that get picked up by Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, or one of these freebie places. So
Mhm.
I would like to manifest writing for income.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Okay.
Welcome.
So, what if I told you all that investing in your workspace is a key factor in completing your writing projects and achieving your goals as a writer? What comes up for you when I say
I live in a cramped space and I don't believe you.
that?
I believe
Thank
you wholeheartedly, and I'm working on I redid my whole office, and now I just need to get the boxes unloaded and put everything away. So, and I hired an organizational coach to help me do that. So I believe you wholeheartedly. And I've also heard that there needs to be a special space only for the writing. We're not like where everything, all your bills go and you do all your stuff, but just rather a special place that you just go for writing. So yeah, I'm very into whatever you have to say.
Thank you. Brenda?
Well, I created a special writing space here where I am in my she shed. So I have a whole room. It's just 80 square feet. It's not very big, but this is where I do all my writing and do my Zoom calls. So, and I
Mhm.
love it. And I'm here from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to bed, pretty much. Yeah. So,
Yes, I'm so jealous. I live in a city. I live in downtown Vancouver. And so my apartment is actually 700 square feet. I'm actually not in my apartment right now. I'm dog sitting. And so my normal home space is 700 square feet. And so it is entirely possible for us to create the optimal workspace to create and to produce. Rusty?
Your statement, your question makes total sense to me because I know when I let my desk get cluttered that I'm scattered in my mind. And so for me, it's investing time into reorganizing it, clearing things off that don't belong, rearranging my crystals and my gemstones because it provides then a different energy and clearing the dust off of them. And then all of a sudden it's like a fresh breath of air is like around me and I can sit down and whether I'm, plowing through tasks or whether I am sitting and writing. So I write Tuesday morning for sure. That's my non-negotiable every morning, every Tuesday morning for me, parts of my memoir or my own writing for myself. And so Monday nights, the final thing that I do before I go to bed, if I haven't already done it, is to make sure that my journal is accessible, my desk is clear, my lists are over there, way over there.
Mhm.
And so my table ends up being a flat surface that I live in a she cave is what Virginia called this, the she cave. And the front half of a sea container, 8 by 20, 8 by 25 feet, this part. And so my desk is ends up being a lot of things, and my table ends up being a lot of things. But it works when I clear up my space and invest the time and making sure that it's clear. And so right now I'm playing with a little turquoise like stone that every now and then when I know that somebody needs energy, I ask them their favorite color. And that one then is the stone that's the prominent one that I pick up and I warm up in my hand while I'm listening to people and sending energy and love and light to her. So I believe in the energy and investment and the time that we spend in our writing space. Thank you for asking the question.
Oh, I love that, Rusty.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. There's so many different elements that we can bring in. So thank you. I'm glad we all can relate in some way. And so, as Rusty said, I am Marybeth. I bring in 15 years of experience in interior design and sustainable building. I am the owner and founder of Sustainable Lifestyle Solutions. We create calm homes and inspiring office spaces for professional women and female entrepreneurs. And I use interior design, professional organizing, and home styling, all with a focus around sustainable and mindful living. I know that sounds like a mouthful, but hopefully you'll understand more as I go on today. I do work one-on-one in groups, and I work in person and worldwide. So all the work that I do, I am able to do with people all over the world, even remotely on Zoom, which is so much fun. And so even though all of that sounds amazing, it did not start out that way. My background is in the sciences, and then I went into studying interior design and then got into sustainable building. And I was working towards building a business for 10 years. Now, emphasis on the working towards part, okay? I was doing full house renovations, new builds, high-rise multi-unit residential buildings, mixed-use buildings. And while I was doing this, I was mostly on contract for various firms and also doing my own projects with clients. And during that time, I was working from home at my kitchen table. Can any of you relate to that, working from your kitchen table? Maybe you're writing, Rusty, you're Virginia, yep. I see some of you nodding your heads. Yes, Brenda. Yes.
I wish I would have a kitchen table. I'm living on my couch.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So wherever. And so that was the same type of thing for me. I mostly worked from my kitchen table. Sometimes it ended up being the bar stools in my kitchen. Sometimes it was my sofa. Sometimes it was my bed. Sometimes it was the floor. Sometimes if the weather was nice, it was my balcony, wherever I could land. And I didn't have a defined workspace. And as my projects got more complicated, as they got more challenging, it was more and more difficult for me to keep up with everything from my work, all of the projects that I was working on. If you've ever seen architectural drawings, there are massive 24 by 36-inch pages, anywhere from 10 to 50 pages in one set, huge rolls of these things. So I had them all over my 700 square foot apartment. And it was like, where's that project? Okay, that's a past version of that project. Where's the most recent version? And so on. There's notes everywhere, invoices, things that I needed to pay, things I needed to invoice my clients for. On my computer, I was behind on emails. I was falling behind on deadlines. I was losing credibility in the industry. I was pissing people off, losing clients, all the stuff. And it was more and more difficult for me to keep up with my home during this time as well. I had laundry piling up, dishes piling up. I had nowhere to keep my paperwork, my storage. There was no storage, no good systems in place. There was random stuff everywhere. And it got more and more difficult for me to focus. My anxiety and stress levels went up. Anyone that works with me, anyone that takes a class from me, I am not ashamed. Brenda, I very much connect with you. I have clinical anxiety and depression diagnosed. I'm on treatment and everything for it. So my anxiety at the time went up so much. And I could not get a handle on staying organized. I would try to stay organized, or I'd try to get myself organized and spend a couple hours. And then all of a sudden, a week went by and everything had gone to hell already. So as that went on, and as I said, I was working towards building this business for 10 years. 10 years is a long ass time. So in that amount of time, my health gave out on me. I could not relax. Building a business from home, doing your writing from home, trying to create income from home means that your entire home is also part of that work. So being able to switch off after you are done with work. I could not I could not relax. I could not sleep well. My health significantly suffered. And to the point where I was so overwhelmed, I had to stop. I had to take a step back from work. I had to figure out what I was doing and really ask myself, Marybeth, what the hell are you doing? Do you actually want to have a business? Is this how a woman with a successful business operates? And of course, the limiting beliefs came through, and things like, maybe I should just get a job. And if you've ever been an entrepreneur, if you are an entrepreneur, this is such a normal thing that I know a lot of people deal with, that whole idea of maybe I should just get a job and stop what we're doing, stop pursuing the business, the career that we are creating for ourselves. So at that time, I said, there was this voice in my head that said, yes, I do want to have a business. Yes, I do want to be successful. So slowly but surely, I started to declutter. I started to reduce how much stuff I had. With every box of donations that went out, every bag of recycling, every bag of garbage that went out. Of course, I try to, as I said, sustainable and mindful living. So I try very much to avoid landfill at all costs. But everything that went out of my home, I started to feel lighter. I started to be able to breathe better. I started to get caught up on my home. And I noticed eventually my stress went down. And my health improved. I could sleep better. I could start planning my meals and feeding myself better. I could start having mental space, the mental clarity. That it was like, before it was like all of these stormy clouds happening in my mind. And as things got better, as things got more clear or more organized, and I had a handle on things, it was like the clouds were thinning out. They were opening up. The light was starting to shine through. And so I started to be productive again. I could think all of a sudden. And I could start thinking about, okay, do I want to have a business? Yes. What's the next step? That whole, like, even that mental process, what's the next step? I could not do for literally a couple of years because I was so bogged down with all the chaos that was around me. As my productivity increased, as I started getting things set up for my business, registered the business, got a business bank account, got a website, got a social media Facebook page, got, all these different things, my confidence started to build. And that's when I really realized our homes and our workspaces are so important for whatever we want to do, whatever projects we're working on, for you to be able to follow through on what you're doing. So if that is completing a writing project, if that is creating a business, whatever that is. So my promise to you is that I will help you create a home and a workspace that will help you achieve the personal and professional goals that you have. So what would an optimized home workspace that maximizes your creativity, what would that look like to you? When I say that, what comes to mind?
When I finish my tiny box, because it's just a box until it's a home, it's a slightly bigger than Virginia's she cave here. My office is going to have space for my computer desk and a writing desk. And the computer desk, and then there's going to be some shelves and storage. And my computer desk, I had it custom built when I sold a poem to an advertising agency in Holland. I actually got $1,700 for a poem. It's possible. And so I use that to build my desk and hutch that poetry built. And it's got compartments and things that will then, have less of this flat surface disease that I sometimes joke that, no, this is like the flat surface easy file acquisition system. But really it's not, it's clutter. So that's the plan too, to have that. And then to have my office not be right next door to the kitchen, although it will be, but my office will have kind of a partition with the wood stove. And then behind me will be all my beloved books, because even though books are cluttered to some people, books are a part of my life and my work. So that is the plan, and I look forward to having that space. And for now, I do my little system of I clean off my desk and prepare it for my writing time. So that's my routine. Yeah.
Very nice. Very good. Clean off the desk and prepare it. Yes. So an optimized home workspace that helps you creatively is a space in your home where you can focus and be mindful and present with your work. This is a space where you can think clearly, where you can be inspired, where you can be creative and innovative, where you can be productive and efficient, where you can produce high quality of work. As a writer, you know that your brain has to work. So this is a space that allows you to create and be productive and produce high quality of writing. It's where you're going to look professional and credible when you're on your Zoom calls. If you do Zoom calls for work, for a business, where you are, maybe if you are pitching your writing projects to a publisher or collaborators and you're connecting with them on Zoom, this is your opportunity to look credible, to look professional. It's where you're naturally going to attract opportunities. I love Rusty's, sharing that you have crystals and stones and things that you bring into the space. Your attraction, your energy that you have in this space is incredibly important to the work that you're creating, to the quality that comes out of it, and to who you're going to attract with that writing. It's where you can start and complete projects. And it's where you can achieve your goals and create the life that you're wanting for yourself. I think all of you said the writing, the reason that you're writing is because it's something deep in you. It's something that either you've always done since you were little, or it came to you. It was something that needed to come out, needed to be formulated into words, something inside. And that is giving you fulfillment. That is giving you passion. So this is a space where you can do all of those things. If you're in business, if you are trying to get writing published, it's also a space that can set you apart from competition. If you have a space that provides all of this for you, if you are meeting with publishers on Zoom, or an editor, or a book designer, whatever, it can set you apart from anyone else that they might be meeting with. When they see that you have your shit together, you are focused, you look credible and professional, they're more likely to work with you than if they're meeting with someone and they see stacks of papers and everything all over the place, and they might think, well, she's not going to meet her deadlines. She's not going to be able to produce what we want. How can her brain even think? So this can give you an edge. It can give you an advantage. Again, if you are trying to get published, if you are trying to make income, it can give you an advantage in any economy. regardless of inflation, regardless of potential recession, whatever the hell's going on out there, this can give you an advantage. So the 3 keys to maximizing your creativity, to being more productive, to achieving your goals through a workspace is what I'm going to be going through. Key number 1 is your fluid mental workspace. And I like to say fluid. So what is the mental workspace? What comes up for you when I say those things, when I say mental workspace?
Clarity, cleanliness, order, beautiful, spa-like, attractive, makes you want to go there.
Barbara?
For me, it's what's inside my brain, the mental workspace. How cluttered is it? What am I thinking about, obsessing about, etc.?
Anahita?
For me, it's flexibility.
You know, Anahita, I think that that flexibility that you just mentioned is what it is for me when I clear up my space. Then all of a sudden the choices feel more broad, and that I can choose what's next as opposed to the lists and the piles choosing for me. And often, you know, the choice is distraction because it takes time to go through them. So I think that clarity and that free mental space, and when we free up our visual space, our mental space is free, then there's the flexibility with where do we want to go next. And it also allows ideas to roam and creativity to blossom. Yeah, I like the flexibility. Thank
you. What a great word, flexibility. Yes. So the mental workspace is the functions of your brain that need to work in order for you to write. In order for you, if you are creating a business, if you are wanting to, if you want income to come out of your writing, that is kind of a business, right? So, but regardless, even just writing and producing, this is the functions of your brain that need to perform in order for you to develop and create a piece. So that includes thinking and focusing. Emotional intelligence. How are you feeling right now? How would your listener or your reader feel? How do you want them to feel? How do your characters feel in your writing? How do you want to express how they feel or show that within the writing? You have to contemplate. You have to strategize and plan. Maybe you are doing research, so you have to receive visual information, and you have to interpret it. You have to understand what you're seeing and reading. If you're talking with other people, you have to understand what verbal language they're giving you, their body language as well. And then you have to respond, whether that is speaking. Speaking is a physical thing, but you have to know what the hell you're talking about. So those are mental functions that are happening. Learning. As you write, you're learning at the same time. You're teaching yourself. You're teaching your reader. You have to remember things. And you have to be creative. You have to be innovative. I love that we're doing this conversation. I love that you have asked me to be here, Rusty, because there's so many parallels to being a writer, to producing a writing piece, to growing and building a business. Both of those things are probably the most creative one of the most creative things that you can do in your life. You're creating something from nothing. So our brains need to work, and that's why I said fluid. They need to work really well. I know you have all experienced writer's block. I can't think of anything. I can't, nothing's coming through. I can't think of what I want to write here. There's something happening that is clogging up the brain. So in order for you to write well, in order for you to produce, to meet deadlines and such, you need to think and focus and be able to do all of these different functions of your brain. And there are many things that will affect that. And your mindset is most definitely one of them. So what kind of mindset would a successful writer have?
Clear, focus, productive, organized space so they know where everything is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to build a little bit on what you were saying about writer's block. And I'm so grateful that you're making this interactive, Marybeth. Thank you for that. So I have been doing a disservice to people when I say that I don't believe in writer's block, because I now need to add your skill set to how we can abolish writer's block, in that when we have what did you just like, that the type of mindset a successful writer would have would be to never arrive to your writing space empty, but to have your writing space empty so that there isn't the distraction there. Because I teach how to make sure that you can find inspiration and plan for inspiration and leave inspiration waiting for you when you go to your writing time, your writing routine. However, I was missing and doing a disservice by not paying attention to these aspects you're bringing to light here, is that the mindset that we have in our brain is to bring the inspiration with us, but to also then have a prepared space. And I think that's part of the mindset too, is that, are we taking care of our space externally and internally? And then we can abolish writer's block with certainty. So thank you for adding to that and helping me see my blind spot.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate that reflection. So a successful writer, if you want to if you are looking for that designation, if you're looking for that identity, the successful writer, this woman is confident. She's curious. She's focused. She is self-assured. I can do this. She's brave. Writing is so vulnerable. It puts you in such a vulnerable place. And to produce writing, to share your writing, is brave, incredibly brave and courageous. A woman that is a successful writer, she is growth oriented. She is self-disciplined. If she's going to create a piece and finish it, she is self-disciplined. She's empathetic. As I mentioned before, she has a level of emotional intelligence to understand what she's feeling, to understand what her characters are feeling, to understand and anticipate what her readers would be feeling. She's open to feedback. We can't grow if we're closed off. We can't improve if we're closed off. And she's adaptable. And like what we had already talked about, flexible. She can adapt. She can be flexible. She's resilient and can persevere. If you're putting pieces of writing up for publishing and you get rejected, even if you're rejected 5,000 times, she's resilient. She can keep going. She can overcome the limiting beliefs that might be coming through and saying, I'm not good enough. And she has that feeling of worthiness. She's worthy of having success. She's worthy of writing something that is good enough to put out there. So why should we care about mindset? Why does this even matter? What do you think? Holly?
It's everything. For me, it's everything. Growing companies to multi-millions of dollars. If I didn't have the mindset to overcome everything that got in my way, and still maintain my health, I would have gone down. So bringing those skills over into what I really love doing, what I'm passionate about doing, what I feel my purpose and my gifts are. I realized here, I thought it was this one thing, about going after your dreams. But quite honestly, as I'm looking into and researching this book, it was building from so many personal growth developments, spirituality, gurus, just life experiences. It was building my mindset for life, how when people lose their husband, I'm like the first person they call, or, I'm just this person that I've studied it for so long that I realize it's not just for success in business. It's just how to get along in life and still be happy, like not giving the keys of your happiness to anyone for any reason at any time ever, and how to hold that space within yourself with God and meditation and just, walk through life just feeling wonderful, even, through whatever happens, giving yourself that space. It's all mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's so critical.
It's so critical. And I like to talk about how it's so important for us to be in a positive frame of mind as much as we can. We cannot expect to grow from a place of negativity. Growth is positive. And we cannot expect to grow from some place that's negative. And I realize that there's a lot of angsty writers out there. And, even some of the great writers that are the classics. But it is, to a certain level, to a certain extent, you still have to be open to possibilities. You still have to be resilient. You still have to be flexible and adaptable and persevere. Because even many of those great classic writers, they might not have gotten published right away, unless they had really awesome connections, and that's a whole different story. But we have to at least be in some sort of positive frame of mind a majority of the time if we want to grow. And your mind is super powerful, as Holly's saying. It has created everything in your reality today. If you're always focusing on negativity, always focusing on lack, it's going to be much more difficult for you to get published. It's going to be much more difficult for you to finish a piece of writing. If you're always focusing on negativity, oh, this isn't good enough. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I don't even want to go back to that piece. I'll start something new because I hated where that was going. So then you have a ton of projects that are started but not finished. So your mind will create everything that's in your reality. We get to choose. You get to choose what you want to focus on. Because whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. So how does the writer mindset, this optimal writer mindset, how does this relate to your home? What do you think? How is this related to your home? The mindset. Anahita?
I feel if we have kind of cluttered mindset, we will have a cluttered house or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for one, I wouldn't have a dog on my desk. No, I'm serious. Sorry, I'll be serious. Um, I know, and I've said this in a couple of different ways, but I know that when my space is cluttered, my mind is cluttered. And the back end of this she cave, I try not to look that way because it's clutter. It's still got tools. It's still got toolboxes. Because it used to be a metal working shop, and we made this part into a home. So when I have my table clear and stuff, and I can look this way, and I can see my camera spot that I have the tripod set up to do that, and my bookcase, that's my background. It's like, so it's the mindset is aided by our space and affected by our space. Yeah, it's in our home. And so you have 700 square feet. I have less than 300 square feet. And it's a challenge, but when I put my timer on for 20 minutes and I do a quick clean up, I can take a breath a little easier. And then the mind settles down. It's all related.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's all related. Yes. There's definitely a beauty and a privilege and a luxury of being able to write and work from home. And there's a level of comfort. And there's a fine line with comfort. There's a place where we're too comfortable. So as I was mentioning before about my own story, before I had an actual designated workspace, and I would work from everywhere, my sofa, my bed, wherever I landed that day or that hour, because I would often have to move around. That level of comfort can really influence how well you can think, how well you can focus. If I'm sitting on my sofa or I'm sitting on my bed trying to work, very likely I'm not going to get much done because I'm going to want to shut my computer and turn on the TV. Or I'm going to want to take a nap. Or I'm just going to want to scroll on my phone. So there is a level of comfort that is so luxurious and nice to be able to do this type of work at home. But we have to be self-disciplined, as I said before, because you are the one that's in control. You are the one that gets to choose how you want to work. And ultimately, you are the one that is in control of how much you get done. So if you change your mindset, if you change how you're feeling about things, if you change how you view and your outlook, if your outlook changes, you're going to change your life. The writing is such a strong part of your life. And if you improve that, if you improve your productivity with that, if you improve the quality of it, you're going to change your life. I think many of you have already said once you started writing, it was like this therapeutic release that comes through. Something that's inside that just has to get out. So if you can do that, if you can be proud of yourself, that changes your life. You're a new person each time you sit down to do some writing. Rusty, each Tuesday morning when you sit down to write, when you are done writing, you're a new person. You're either very satisfied with it, or maybe you're not as satisfied, but you're a different person than before you produced that, before that came out. So if you change your mindset, if you look at things differently, then you're going to change how well your brain works. And that's going to change your life. Shifting into key number 2, this is your inspiring writer's sanctuary. Key number 1 was your mental workspace, the fluid mental workspace, to make sure your brain is working smoothly. The writer's sanctuary is your physical environment. So what is an inspiring writer's sanctuary? This is a place or location where you can focus, where you can write, where you can produce, where you can edit, where you can publish and complete your projects and be able to achieve your goals. If you want to get your memoir done this year, this is ultimately the location where that's going to happen. If you want to get this, I think Macy's gone, but if she wants to get the play that she's working on with you, Rusty, if she wants to get that completed and get that out to various platforms that could pick it up, Netflix or whatever places, Hulu, that she's looking at. If you want to get that done this year, this is where ultimately you're going to achieve your goals. And there's 2 considerations that we want to look at when we look at your actual physical environment. And this is how others are judging or perceiving you. So if you are on Zoom calls, for example, at any point for your work, this is what is we need to be considerate of how people might be judging or perceiving that space and you. And it's also how you feel while working in the space. So how people judge and perceive you. We don't want to think people are judging us, you know, and as I love being in women's communities, my clients are only female. I prefer to only hire females and everything. And I love the support that we give to each other is just unparalleled. And we don't want to think that people are judging us, but ultimately that's what we naturally do. It's that vision reception that is happening. We believe what we see. And if what we see matches what we hear, that's even stronger. So what people see, if you are on Zoom for potential clients, if you're on Zoom to network, if you are on Zoom to talk to a publisher, to talk to an editor or a book designer, are you looking professional? Do you look like you take what you do seriously? Are you credible and trustworthy? If you show up and you are disheveled, you are feeling chaotic, your space looks like it's a mess and chaotic, how is that going to come off in these conversations? Even if you have amazing things to say, that's going to be giving mixed signals. Those don't connect what they're seeing and what they're hearing, which reduces your credibility so much. It makes you look like you're not trustworthy. Do they feel aligned with the person that they're seeing? So they're asking, do I feel aligned with this person and what they're selling or what they're doing? If it's a publisher, do I actually want to work with this person? Would I trust this person and give them money? And ultimately, how your space looks, how you look, this is your business card. This is the first time I'm meeting several of you. So if I showed up in my pajamas, I'm not a morning person, so I'm super proud of myself for getting up this morning and actually curling my hair. This is wonderful. I'm having a good day. So, but if I showed up in my pajamas and I looked like crap, I would not be, you would not be perceiving me or listening to me and giving me as much of your attention as if I was not. So your background can establish your professionalism. You do what you take seriously. It can help your credibility. It can attract people that want to collaborate with you, that want to hire you, that want to publish or promote you and your work, that want to share your work. Look, Virginia published this and I want to, my friend Virginia published this and I want to show everyone because I love her and the work is amazing. It is your business card when they are seeing you. If you have produced something and you want to get that out to the world, maybe you do networking. This is what they're seeing. So in that way, it is like your online business card, your online website, or your in person on Zoom website. So consideration number 2, how you feel working in the space. Yes, it's important. It is very important how other people judge and perceive you for the success of the writing that you produce. If you want to get it out there, if you want readers, if you want to make income from the writing that you're producing, yes, how others are judging and perceive you is very important. But how you feel while working in the space is even more important for you to be able to produce the writing that you're wanting to get out there. And as I think Anahita had mentioned, and maybe Rusty too, your home and your office space, your workspace, is directly connected to your mind. Your physical environment is directly connected to the mind. The chaos on the outside is going to translate directly into the chaos on the inside. Whatever's happening around you is going to reflect what's happening inside of you, and vice versa. So your inspiring writer's sanctuary, this is what we want to create. We want to create an environment that inspires you, that helps you do all of those brain functions, that helps you be the confident, self-assured, brave person that you are, that will put their words down, that will share their words with others. Even just writing what you're thinking and feeling is brave. I remember years ago, my counselor saying to me, you should try writing. You should try, whatever's coming up for you, try to get it out. And if you don't have anyone to talk to about it, put it down on paper. And I realized how therapeutic that was. Holy hell, how lighter I felt, how much lighter I felt, how it released something inside of me that I was holding on to. So your Inspiring Writers Sanctuary, there's 6 different things that I want to talk about that influences that we need to pay attention to. That's your location. Where are you working? If you're trying to work from the kitchen table, I totally, completely understand the temptation. It's a nice surface. It's a big surface. Usually it's in more of an open area, and it might be the kitchen table, so you're real close to the refrigerator, which I love. And so it can be very tempting, but it can also be very distracting. If anyone else is in the space coming in to get a snack or walking by, or maybe your cat or your dog is asking for breakfast or lunch, or maybe late night snack if you like to work late like I do. So it can be very distracting depending on your location where you're working. As I said, the sofa or the bed, those can be, that level of comfort can be distracting because your brain is pulling in different directions. Oh, this space is supposed to be for relaxation. This space is supposed to be for sleep. Oh no, this is where I'm supposed to write. This is where I'm supposed to produce. This is where I'm supposed to be productive. The brain doesn't know what it's doing. So we need to create environments that help your brain function optimally. Your lighting is incredibly important as well. It's very important if you are on Zoom calls, it's very important that people be able to see you well. They're not having to squint to see you closer. They can see you. You are visible. You are here. And that increases how much they can trust you. A lot. Because again, if what you're saying is not connecting to what they're seeing, it reduces your credibility. Lighting is also very important for your eyes. I don't want your eyes to be harmed by not having adequate lighting. So if you're staring at a screen for a long period, I like to backlight my monitor. Backlight means to have some sort of a light behind the computer. It's going to soften how you see the screen. It's going to soften how your eyes interpret that light. It's also incredibly important that your surface, your work surface, is lit well and adequately while you're writing. Sometimes you can get in the zone and you want to write for hours, which is awesome. But that intense focus on your eyes, we need to create as healthy of an environment as possible for you to be able to do that. And your location influences the lighting. If your workspace, if your desk is close to a window, there's natural light that can come through during daylight. It can also be too much and blinding you, and that can be very distracting. In my home, there's this little room off my entryway that it's literally probably like maybe 50 square feet, and it has no windows. And for the first 5 years that I lived there, I was having that space try to be a workspace. Having a little desk in there, had a little setup, and it's like, oh, this is going to be great. I can like shut myself in here and just focus. It was awful. It was so tiny and there was no windows, no natural light. I didn't want to work in there at all. I hated it. So I didn't work there. Having access to natural light is important for your creativity. Being able to look out the window is good for your eyes, the brain, the muscles in your eyes. If you write on a screen, looking away from the screen is going to help considerably. And then your ergonomics, or excuse me, before ergonomics is clutter. If there is clutter around your space, this is going to be very difficult for you to think and focus. Very difficult for you to be able to write and produce and create coherent sentences, coherent thoughts. So we have to reduce how much stuff is around, because that's information that your brain is taking up or taking in. And your ergonomics, just like with the lighting, I don't want your body to be hurting by you producing what is coming out of you, the passion, the creativity that's coming out. So making sure that your chair that you're sitting at is not hurting your back, your hips, your neck, your shoulders, your knees, your elbows, your wrists and hands, your fingers are not being strained by your keyboard, your mouse. Because if you want to be able to write for durations of time, if you want to be able to write frequently, you need to be able to sit at these places. And inspiration, make it inspiring, whatever that means for you. If it is inspiring quotes, if it is nature, if it is your family, put inspiration around the space and have it cultivate your creativity, inspire your creativity. The crystals, as Rusty was saying, all these other metaphysical items that could come into the space. And yes, make it comfortable. Make it a space that you want to sit at. Because if it's uncomfortable, you're not going to want to sit there. Your home and office should be the antidote to stress. It should not be causing any stress. We want to make sure that your brain is working on what it is you're working on and thinking about what is coming to your mind and producing that, getting that out. We don't want your brain to be stressing over the clutter on the desk, over the clutter on the floor, the piles of stuff around your space. So a home writer's sanctuary should inspire you. It should not cause you stress. It should allow you to focus. It should help you look professional and legitimate. And ultimately, it should help you achieve your goals. So key number 3 to optimizing your workspace is your seamless digital space. Some of you might just be pen and paper and not producing or not trying to get writing out to publish. But if you are doing anything on the computer, if you write on the computer, if you are wanting to get published, if you are wanting to share your work digitally, internationally, the workspace is so important. The digital workspace is so important. And this is everything that you need to have digitally for you to do the work. Get the work out there, create the work, whatever that might be for you. This includes all of the technology, the files on your computer, the file sharing that you're doing. If you have Google Drive or Dropbox or anything like that, maybe you're sharing files with your book designer or your publisher, your editor. The hardware that you have, so the actual computer, the monitor, the keyboard, the mouse, all the cords that come with all of these things. And then your emails. How are you getting opportunities? What opportunities are coming through? I had a client with over 100,000 unread emails. And as we started piecing through it, there were all of these opportunities that she missed. She was an artist and she got asked if she wanted to exhibit at this gallery and come to this opening and all these different things. She was missing these opportunities because her email was so disorganized and she couldn't keep up with it. The photos on your computer are influential, especially if you're putting any sort of social media posts out to advertise your writing. And whatever systems that you're creating on the computer, how you manage incoming emails, how you manage incoming files, how you manage the different versions of your writing, how you're sending those. So the systems include any sort of marketing or advertising that you might be doing for the writing, your administrative stuff, any proposals that you might be creating and sending to publishers, or as Macy was saying, you know, the play that she's doing, sending that. The client care, if you have clients that you're working with, how you're caring for them, coaching and teaching for people, keeping track of your finances, your time management, how you're managing your time. Many of us use a digital calendar now. And then any collaborations that you have. So the digital workspace, especially if you write digitally, it can provide so much freedom and flexibility for you. So if you want to work less, be able to work remotely, then the digital workspace will allow you to do that. Your notebook and pen will as well, which is a wonderful thing. So if you're passion writing and not looking to produce, sure, pen and paper is still great. So ultimately, though, your digital workspace should help you be more efficient and increase your productivity. It should not be causing you additional stress, once again, and it should help you achieve more work-life balance if this is part of your work. And then if you want to have a mobile home office, if you want to go work from the park, right from the park one day and be inspired by being surrounded by nature, and have it already, your manuscript or whatever piece is on your computer, so you don't have to transcribe it from pen and paper. And if you want to have that freedom as a writer, then the digital workspace is very important. So, do you want to have an optimal writer's sanctuary? Do you want to have an environment that helps you reduce your stress, keeps you organized, helps you be efficient, helps you make more money, helps you work less, so that you can spend more time with family, friends, doing what you love? Then I am here to support you. And I offer a free 30-minute home office breakthrough session if you are interested. In this session, we talk about where you're at, your physical environment, what's happening for you mentally, what are your goals with your writing, your work, if you have a business, and then we create a little plan to help you get there and how I can support you with that. Because your home office is an investment in you, in your business, in your writing, whatever you're trying to produce, in your life and in your future. So I can put in the chat the link, but if you have a phone handy, you're welcome to scan this QR code and grab the link, and I'll just put it in the chat as well. Give me a moment here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Mary Beth. I'm going
You're
to start
welcome.
us off with a couple of questions. Oh, I'll have one question well, actually a comment. I really liked when you asked, how do you want your characters to feel? Because Teresa knows this writing fiction, that her characters will take off. When I was working on fiction, the characters would take off too. And I can see how our environment really plays in with our characters. The when you were mentioning about the wires of the desk, the wires are the bane of our existence because they're not neat. You can't put things on them. They mess up the space. And I couldn't believe the relief I felt when my son came along and drilled an extra hole in my desk so that I could go get one of those little neat things from Staples that the cord could go through, and it, covers up the hole. And so now, instead of my microphone cord being all over the desk or whatever, it's going through a hole in the back, and I can push it out of the way when I'm not on a Zoom. I can pull it closer when I am. And it was like a hole in my desk. I just couldn't stop looking at it. So these little things make such a difference. The question I had was, what was the most difficult thing to let go of? And do you recall the feeling when you had released it? And what was it like when it was gone for you and you were making that transition from the absolute clutter and working everywhere to, letting things go?
A lot of my past uh, school documents and notebooks and things like that were really hard for me. That was a past version of myself when I was in the sciences. And so that was a really hard, those were really hard things for me to get rid of, because it felt like, oh my God, I put so much time, effort, focus into this. Um, and I really wanted to be that person, because I wanted to be a doctor. So it was really hard for me to get rid of those things. And it felt like I was just cutting off a piece of who I am.
Oh.
So that,
And what do you recall the feeling when they were gone and out of your house?
at first it felt like my arm had been chopped off. I'm not gonna lie. It did. It felt like a piece was gone. But now it feels like it made space for new. It made space for me to grow into who I am now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Does anyone else have questions or comments? What is the one thing you're taking away from today that is just going to change your mental and physical workspace?
For me, I think, thank you, Marybeth. That was lovely, really. Dedicated, slow, clear, beautiful slides, very aesthetic. Really appreciate your presentation. For me, it's something in everything that you said that was really about just dedicate this time, this space. I so realize that we're creatures of habit. And then when you dedicate one space and this time, whether it's 8 hours or 4 hours or 2 hours or half an hour, each day, same time, that we are, I'm the boss of me, we are our own bosses, and we can set our own boundaries and really make a priority. I think what I got from you was, when are you going to make this a top priority for me, because I'm just, not that long retired, and did a whole program for a year, and then I thought to myself in COVID, if I died, if I'm one of those that die, I don't have children. I don't have that legacy. This book would be my legacy. So when am I going to make it a top priority? And so for me, thank you. You made me helped me to realize, yeah, now. When would now be a good time? So thank you.
That's awesome,
Okay.
Holly. When would now be a good time? Oh,
Yeah. And it's
Brenda Lynn, you
interesting,
have your, sorry, Brenda Lynn, you have your she shed. Is there anything that you want to change based on today's conversation or?
Yes, I have my nice space. My desk is always neat, but behind me I have my bookshelf and another shelf that's cluttered with binders. So I need to do some more decluttering and spring cleaning and just like really make that a priority. So because I have a book, a topic, right? For everything that I have this is my Rusty book. This is my, right? This is my writing book. This is they're everywhere. So I need to declutter that and just organize it better. And I think it'll really help me get more clear. So thank you. I too really appreciated your presentation.
Mm,
It was well, thank you.
if I can give you a quick tip on when you're doing that organization, everything is trial and error. Everything is an experiment. And, I come from a science background, so I look at all of it as an experiment and see when you're creating the organization, try one way of doing it and see if it works for you. See if it makes sense for your brain. And if it ends up that things end up going back to the way they were, then that doesn't mean you failed. That means that you just have to try a different way, try a different place for them to go. Just notice what happens with your brain and what feels natural. Maybe it makes sense to grab them to the side instead of having to go behind you and get something from a shelf.
Thank you. That's
You're
helpful.
welcome.
Thank you.
yeah. Anyone else? Virginia.
Your presentation has really gelled for me that I always say I'm patient and I can put this off and I'll do it later and I'll get this done and then have time for that. And it's really gelled for me that's why I don't have time to get to things, is because I don't have a dedicated workspace. And I am determined this summer to have, like Brenda Lynn, a she cave, even if it's smaller than her 8x10. It doesn't matter. It'll be my space where it's just for me. And I design it the way I want to. But I also am taking away some more subtle things. Is I have a relaxing game that I play on my computer every once in a while. I can only allow one thing on there because it can be very addictive. But I'm realizing that even having one game on my computer is too much. My computer is not for that. So I've got to find another way to relax. Maybe it's just to go back to playing a game of solitaire on the kitchen table. So that's where not my workspace. So that was a really subtle little thing that came to me as you were talking about the digital space. I thought, ooh, okay, I've never thought, I always think about the physical, the emotional, but that was a very good leaning from what you shared today.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And I think so. I interviewed a woman that if any of you've ever met her, her name's Linda Stewart, and she is a hypnotherapist and she coaches women entrepreneurs around mindset. And we had this conversation about distraction and how, I think maybe if you've ever heard of that kind of phrase of squirrel, oh, I get so distracted, it's like a squirrel, oh, squirrel brain. Well, we can actually train our brains to be distracted and meant to allow our brains to move to different things all the time. In the same way, we can train our brains to focus. And it comes with work. It's like strengthening the body. You might go play a sport or lift weights or climb or whatever. You're strengthening your muscles there. To strengthen the mind, we can work on that and we can improve that. So if you're finding you're distracted, if you're finding things are all over the place, we can train the brain to do that. And yes, the environment is very important, the physical and that digital environment. So I love that you picked that up, Virginia, and how even just your brain associating your computer with productivity, having a game on there may confuse your brain and not allow you to be as productive when you're on it if you are playing a game there as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I usually give it to myself as a reward, but or just to take a break. But even that, it's like it's in the back of one's mind. It's there. I'm going to take it off. I've done that repeatedly in the past. If I found something I liked, I'd say, "Oh, that's not good. That's going to distract me," and I'd get rid of it. But this one I've kept, so
If you
it's
can,
got to go.
yeah, if you have an iPad, if you have a phone that you can play games on, that can help your brain delineate between the computer is for work and maybe the iPad is for fun, or the computer is more for fun or personal time, or the phone is for more fun and personal time.
I'll have to go back to the literal playing cards or something because I don't have an iPad.
Yeah, that's also very helpful.
I think, Marybeth, you're brilliant for that. Well, just Holly, 1 second. Virginia, yes, the card game would also get you out of your office chair and away from your desk and give you that little bit of movement in between too. So that's good. All right, Holly, take her away.
Yeah, no, I also, as you were saying about the distractions, and that's really cool, the hypnotist, because I have ADHD, so it's so easy to, and I loved how you said you can just train, your brain. You can even do 5-minute meditations. I know John F. Kennedy had that in his Oval Office, when he would just tell everyone, let's chill for 5 minutes, literally, and it would refresh the brain to new ideas. So I love that. So the thinking of like, I'm going to turn my phone off, I'm going to have dedicated time, the same working space, that type of thing is really cool. The other thing is I worked with a guy who started coaching, the business and industry of coaching. His name was Thomas Leonard. And one of his favorite, one of my favorites that he said of the million trillion wonderful things he said was environment is everything. And he said so much so that when you looked at his projects, it would be a lifetime of projects for me. Like that was his 1-year projects, that he would do in 1 year. And he could type as fast as he could talk, but he was saying things to the degree environment is so important, to the degree of the manila folder that you have in the file cabinet. He said, if I had the ugly colors that they provide for us, I would not be attracted. That entire project could be a multi-million-dollar project and really great for the world, and he would not be attracted to go to it. So learned that even file folders needed to be pleasing and attractive to him so that he could engage with them. So I thought that was really cool too, the environment.
That's a great example, I think. And when I'm working with my clients, it's so cool to uncover how their brain thinks. And that's why I was saying, Brenda Lynn, to pay attention to what feels natural to you. Because I have one client who, when she's organizing her emails, it was not good enough for her to just create folders with the name on it. She started to mention colors in different talks or different conversations. And I said, I think that your brain is seeing color and distinguishes color. And what about we try creating even your email subfolders, giving them a color, because most email systems you can do that. And that has helped her so much. And so we're bringing that into, yes, her physical space with color coding files and stuff so that she can easily see. Not everyone's brain is like that. And I appreciate you mentioning that you have ADHD. I've worked with a lot of clients that have ADHD. And so not everyone's brain is the same. And even the ADHD brain, every single person with ADHD functions differently and thinks differently and processes differently. So it's fascinating. And I absolutely love this work from a design perspective. It's super cool, but then also from a functional perspective, it is so neat to see what works for each individual person.
Wow.
And yes, environmental is massive. I mean, we all know that a lot of diseases are environmental, right? There's a lot of things that are hereditary, that are genetic, but many things are environmental. So our environment is hugely impactful in who we are, what we do, and what we're able to accomplish.
Wow. On that note, I think we're going to wrap this up. I think we could talk longer too. I can see your passion for this, Marybeth, and I'm so grateful that you brought all of your passion and tailored it for us writers today. And you know, what Holly just mentioned about colors and the email folders, I'm going to add that to my email sorting, because in my drawer are colored file folders, and I use my favorite turquoise color blue for my writing, and purple for the things that I do to enrich writers' lives, and yellow for Revenue Canada. But it's a bright, beautiful yellow. But you know, the tone of voice didn't, but anyway, you are fantastic. Thank you so very much. And I will make sure this recording is available. If you didn't see in the chat, Barbara said, thank you so much, Marybeth. She did have to go. She wasn't able to be with us all weekend. You know that Anahita had to go to a celebration of life. She'll be back. And I will leave the Zoom open while we take a lunch break. So we're back at the top of the hour from lunch, and I had Barbara choose another prompt before she went, and then I gave her one. So I'm going to give those both to everyone, but I knew that Barbara had to go. So I had her choose. She chose 377. I had her choose between 300 and 400. And so she chose this one. So I'm going to give it to everyone here. 1 second. And before I copy this in there and put it in for everyone, I'm going to go copy the other one. Otherwise, I'll have to scroll back to that. So I'm going to grab the other one. Okay, now it's copied. So hope rises like a phoenix from the ashes of shattered dreams. And then the next prompt, if people want to write over their lunchtime, these are optional. And the next prompt that I specifically handpicked for Barbara because of the motherhood, I thought this was a brilliant one. How foolish to think you can tell your children, the chat just moved on me. Foolish to tell your children about yourself before they're at least 50, to ask to be seen by them as a person and not as a function. So those who are mothers in the room and those who are not, a thought to contemplate about your own mother. We're back at the top of the hour. Take care of yourselves, bio breaks, lunch breaks, food, walk, get out for a little bit of fresh air if you can. And we will have our afternoon of writing and sharing. So we'll see you back at the top of the hour. And Marybeth, thank you again.